6 months later, the restaurant was full every single night. People came from all over the city, then from all over the country, then from all over the world. They waited in lines that stretched around the block, sometimes for hours, just for a chance to eat at the small restaurant where everything began. Grandmother Bora's food had always been good, but now it was famous. The little restaurant had a new name, painted in bright letters above the door: the place that fed an alien. Yuna thought the name was embarrassing. Do-hwan thought it was funny. Grandmother Bora did not care either way, as long as customers kept coming and bills got paid. Yuna worked there now, officially. No more hiding in the storage room. She wore a proper uniform and took orders and served food like any other employee. Customers stared at her at first, amazed to be served by a real alien. But after a while, the wonder faded. She became just another part of the restaurant, another familiar face, another worker doing her job. That was what Yuna wanted most of all. To be normal, to belong. The government scientists still visited sometimes. They asked questions about her biology, her homeworld, her species. She answered what she could. In return, they helped her understand how Earth, food worked for her body. The results amazed everyone. Human food was not just compatible with her species. It was actually superior to the nutrients they had been eating for generations. Yuna's body processed proteins, vitamins, and minerals from Earth ingredients more efficiently than anything her people had ever known. Your species evolved to survive on minimal resources, one scientist explained. Your bodies are incredibly efficient at extracting nutrients. Earth food is rich compared to what you were designed for. It's like giving a fuel-efficient car the highest quality gasoline. Everything just works better. This meant something important. If other members of her species had survived, if they were out there somewhere in the dark between stars, Earth could save them too. Yuna began sending signals. Using equipment the government provided, she broadcast messages into space on frequencies her people would recognize. She spoke in her native language, telling anyone who could hear about Earth, about humans, about the food that could save their lives. She did not know if anyone would ever hear her messages. The galaxy was vast. Her people were scattered and dying. The chances were small, but she had to try. Months passed. No response came. Yuna kept broadcasting anyway. Meanwhile, her life on Earth grew richer. She learned to cook from Grandmother Bora, standing beside the old woman in the hot kitchen, watching her weathered hands move with practiced skill. The secret to good food, Grandmother Bora said one day, is not the ingredients. It's the love you put in. Anyone can follow a recipe, but only someone who cares can make food that fills the soul. Yuna thought about this. She thought about all the meals Do-hwan had brought her in the alley, how they had tasted like more than just food. They had tasted like kindness, like hope, like home. I understand, she said. Grandmother Bora smiled. I know you do, child. That's why I'm teaching you. One day, when I'm gone, someone needs to carry on. Yuna felt tears in her eyes. Don't talk about being gone. The old woman laughed softly. I'm 87 years old. I have to talk about it. But don't be sad. Everything ends eventually. What matters is what we leave behind. That night, after the restaurant closed, Yuna sat on the roof with Do-hwan. They did this sometimes, looking at the stars while the city slept below them. Your grandmother talked about dying today, Yuna said. Do-hwan nodded. She does that sometimes. It scares me, but I think she just wants to be practical. Humans have such short lives, Yuna said quietly. My species can live for hundreds of years, but you only get decades. It seems unfair. Do-hwan shrugged. Maybe, but maybe that's what makes us care so much. We know our time is limited, so we try to make it count. He looked at her, Is that sad or beautiful? Yuna thought about it. Both, she decided. It's both. They sat in silence for a while. Then Doan spoke again. What will you do if nobody answers your messages? If you're really the only one left? It was a question Yuna had avoided thinking about. The possibility that she was truly alone, the last of her kind, forever. I don't know, she admitted, but I think I will be okay. This place feels like home now. You and your grandmother feel like family. She paused. Is that strange? A human and an alien being family? Doan smiled. Family isn't about blood or species. It's about choosing each other. And I choose you, Yuna. You're my family now. Yuna felt warmth spread through her chest. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Thank you, she whispered, for everything. They stayed on the roof until dawn, watching the stars fade and the sun rise over the city. 1 year later, something incredible happened. Yuna was in the kitchen, preparing vegetables for the dinner service, when her communication device made a sound she had never heard before. A specific pattern of tones. A pattern that meant only one thing. Someone had answered. She dropped a knife and ran to the small room, where she kept her broadcasting equipment. Her hands were shaking as she activated the receiver. A voice came through. Weak and distant, full of static, but unmistakable. Her language. Her people. This is the colony ship Horizon. We received your message. There are 400 of us left. We are running out of supplies. Please, if anyone is there, please help us. Yuna's legs gave out. She collapsed to the floor, crying harder than she had ever cried in her life. She cried for joy. She cried for relief. She cried for her mother and father who would never know that their daughter had found a way to help. Doan found her there minutes later. She showed him the message. She explained what it meant. 400 survivors. Coming to Earth. Coming for food that could save their lives. The news spread quickly. Governments around the world began preparing. Scientists worked to understand what supplies would be needed. Politicians argued about immigration and resources and security. But ordinary people, the people Yuna had come to know and love, they did something simpler. They started cooking. Restaurants across Seoul prepared extra food. Families made huge batches of rice and soup and vegetables. The government set up stations where people could donate ingredients and meals. Within days, there was enough food to feed thousands. Humanity had never met another intelligent species before. They did not know what to expect. They did not know if these aliens would be friendly or dangerous, but they knew that someone out there was hungry. And humans, Yuna had learned, could not stand to let anyone go hungry. The day the colony ship Horizon arrived was the biggest event in human history. Billions of people watched as the massive vessel descended through the clouds, fire trailing behind it. It landed in a field outside Seoul, exactly where Yuna's escape pod had crashed almost 2 years before. The doors opened. 400 pale, thin, exhausted aliens stepped out into the sunlight. They looked scared. They looked like Yuna had looked when she first arrived, ready for cruelty, expecting the worst. Instead, they found tables. Hundreds of tables covered with food. Thousands of humans standing behind them, smiling, waving, holding out plates. Yuna stood at the front, next to Doan and grandmother Bora. She spoke into a translator device so her people could understand. Welcome to Earth, she said, her voice strong and clear. These are humans. They are strange and chaotic and sometimes stupid. But they are also the kindest species in the galaxy. They saved my life when they had no reason to. And they want to save yours too. She gestured at the tables. Please, she said. Eat. For a moment, nothing happened. The survivors of the Horizon just stood there, unable to believe what they were seeing. Then one of them, A small child with gray skin and dim eyes walked forward. A human woman knelt down and offered her a bowl of warm soup. The child took a sip. Her eyes went wide, and then she smiled. That single smile broke the dam. The other survivors surged forward, crying and laughing and eating. Humans embraced aliens like old friends. Children shared food with children. Grandmother Bora walked through the crowd, making sure everyone had enough. News cameras captured everything. The whole galaxy, through whatever means they used to watch Earth, saw humanity's response to first contact. Not fear. Not violence. Not suspicion. Just food. Just kindness. Just love. The Galactic Council would have to change their assessments. The ratings and classifications that marked Earth as primitive would be rewritten. But that would take time, and Yuna did not care about politics anymore. She stood beside Dohan, watching her people eat and laugh and live for the first time in years. "Thank you," she said to him one more time. Dohan smiled. "You always say that, because I always mean it." He took her hand. They watched the sun set over a field full of humans and aliens sharing a meal together. Somewhere in the stars, civilizations older than Earth looked down and saw something they had never expected. A young species, barely out of its cradle, teaching the galaxy what it meant to be truly advanced, not through technology or power or conquest, through kindness, through a bowl of warm food, offered to a stranger in the rain dot through humanity, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The black vehicles arrived on a Tuesday morning. Yuna was in the storage room, practicing her writing, when she heard them. Multiple engines stopping at once. Doors opening and closing. Footsteps, many footsteps, moving with purpose. Her heart stopped. She had always known this day might come. Governments on developed planets always had detection systems. They searched for unusual signals, strange energy patterns, anything that did not belong. Her escape pod had burned up in the crash, but her body still carried technology inside it. The translator chip. The medical implants that kept her alive. Small things, but enough to be noticed. Yuna went to the window and looked out carefully. She saw men and women in dark uniforms surrounding the building. They carried equipment she did not recognize. Some of them wore masks. Others spoke into communication devices. There was nowhere to run. She thought about hiding, but what was the point? They knew she was here. They had found her. Everything she had built in the past few months, all the happiness she had discovered, was about to be taken away. The door to the storage room burst open. Men with weapons rushed in, shouting words she could not process. They grabbed her arms and pushed her to her knees. Someone put something cold around her wrists. She could not move. "Do not resist," a voice said in heavily accented Korean. "You will not be harmed if you cooperate." Yuna did not resist. She did not even cry. She just knelt there, thinking about Dowan, hoping he was safe, hoping they would not punish him for helping her. They took her outside. The sunlight hurt her eyes. More vehicles had arrived. People in white coats were setting up equipment. Cameras flashed. Someone was shouting into a phone. Then she heard his voice. "Let her go." Yuna looked up. Dohan was running toward them, pushing through the crowd of agents. His face was red with anger. His hands were shaking. Two guards grabbed him before he could reach her. "Sir, you need to step back," one of them said. "She hasn't done anything wrong," Dohan shouted. He struggled against the guards, but they were stronger than him. "She's just trying to survive. Let her go." An older woman in a black suit walked toward them. She had gray hair and cold eyes. She looked at Dowan like he was an insect. "This is a matter of national security," she said. "The creature is not human. It does not have rights." Creature. The word hit Yuna like a physical blow. She had been called many things in her life, but never that. Never creature. She's a person, Do-hwan shouted. I don't care where she's from. She's a person, and you're treating her like an animal. The woman smiled. It was not a kind smile. And you have been harboring an alien entity for months. Do you understand the consequences of that? You could be charged with treason. Do-hwan stopped struggling. He looked at the woman with eyes full of fire. Then charge me, he said quietly. I don't care. I would do it again. Something changed in that moment. Yuna felt it. The air grew heavy. The agents around them shifted uncomfortably. Even the cold-eyed woman seemed surprised. Then, from behind the crowd, a new voice spoke. Let him go. Everyone turned. An old woman was walking toward them slowly, supported by a wooden cane. She was small and bent with age, but she moved with dignity. Her eyes were sharp and clear. Do-hwan's grandmother. Grandmother, go back inside, Do-hwan said quickly. This doesn't concern you. Everything that concerns my grandson concerns me, the old woman replied. She walked past the guards like they were not even there. They did not stop her. Perhaps they were too surprised that she stopped in front of the woman in the black suit. I am Bara, she said. I have lived in this neighborhood for 60 years. I have fed thousands of people in my restaurant. I have survived war. I have survived loss. I have survived things you cannot imagine. Her voice was calm but strong. And I will not stand here and watch you take an innocent child. The woman in the black suit frowned. Ma'am, with respect, you don't understand what? I understand perfectly, Bora interrupted. I have seen the girl. I have watched her eat my food and smile. I have heard her laugh with my grandson. She is not a threat. She is a survivor, just like me. More people were gathering now. Neighbors, shop owners, regular customers from the restaurant. They came out of buildings and stood at a distance, watching. Some of them held phones, recording everything. The woman in the black suit noticed this. Her face tightened. This is a restricted area, she announced loudly. Everyone needs to leave immediately. But no one left. More people came instead. The crowd grew larger. Someone in the back started chanting something. Others joined in. Yuna's translator chip caught the words. Let her go. Let her go. Let her go. Her eyes filled with tears. These people did not know her. They had never spoken to her. But they were standing up for her anyway, just because Do-hwan and his grandmother had asked them to. The woman in the black suit spoke, urgently into her communication device. She received a response that made her face go pale. She turned to the other agents. Stand down, she said. New orders. We're taking her in for questioning, but without force. And let the man go. The guards released Do-hwan. He immediately ran to Yuna and knelt beside her. He took her bound hands in his. It's going to be okay, he said. I won't let them hurt you. Yuna shook her head. You should not have fought for me. They will punish you. I don't care. Why? She whispered. Why do you keep risking everything for me? Do-hwan looked at her. In his eyes, she saw something she had never seen before. Something warm and deep and true. Because you're my friend, he said simply. And friends don't abandon each other. The agents took Yuna away in one of the black vehicles. But as they drove, she looked out the window. She saw the crowd of people still standing there. She saw Do-hwan and his grandmother watching the vehicle disappear. She saw news cameras and reporters rushing to the scene. Her story was no longer a secret. The whole world was about to know. That night, while Yuna sat alone in a cold room waiting for questions, something incredible happened. The videos from the neighborhood spread across the internet. Millions of people watched a delivery boy stand between armed agents and a frightened alien girl. They watched an old woman defend a stranger with nothing but words and dignity. They watched ordinary people chant for freedom. By morning, the story was everywhere. News channels played the footage on loop. Social media exploded with hashtags demanding Yuna's release. Politicians who had supported her capture suddenly changed their positions. Afraid of public anger, the world had made its decision. Humanity wanted to protect her. 3 days later, the government announced that Yuna would be given refugee status. She was not a prisoner. She was not an experiment. She was a person with rights, the first non-human person ever recognized by an Earth government. When they released her, Do was waiting outside. He looked like he had not slept in days. His clothes were wrinkled. His hair was messy, but he was smiling. Yuna walked toward him slowly. She stopped just a few steps away. "You saved me," she said. Do shook his head. "We saved each other. That's what friends do." Yuna felt something break inside her. Something that had been hard and scared for so long. She stepped forward and hugged him, holding on tight. Behind them, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. The world watched. But in that moment, there was only Yuna and Do. Two survivors who had found each other in the darkness and refused to let go. The Galactic Council had been wrong about humanity. They were not primitive. They were not violent. They were not stupid. They were stubborn. They were kind. They were beautiful. And one day, Yuna promised herself the whole galaxy would know it. 2 months passed. Yuna had never been happier in her life. Every day followed the same pattern. She woke up in her storage room when the morning light came through the small window. She read her books. She practiced writing Korean letters. She watched videos on the phone Do had given her, learning about Earth, about humans, about this strange and beautiful planet she had landed on. In the afternoon, she would hear Do motorcycle leave for deliveries. She liked that sound. It meant he was close, just moving around the neighborhood, bringing food to hungry people. Sometimes, when she was feeling brave, she would peek through the window and watch him drive away. At night, they ate together. This was her favorite part of each day. Do always brought the best dishes from the restaurant. His grandmother's recipes, he explained. Food she had been making for 50 years. Soft tofu stew, spicy rice cakes, grilled meat wrapped in fresh vegetables. Each meal was a new discovery for Yuna. Her body had completely changed. The gray color was gone from her skin. Her eyes were bright again, glowing softly in the darkness like they were supposed to. She felt strong, healthy, alive. Human food had saved her. The scientists on her colony ship would have been amazed. They always believed that their species could only survive on specific nutrients from their home world. But they were wrong. Earth food was not just compatible with her body. It was better, richer, more complete. Yuna tried to explain this to Do one night. "Your planet," she said carefully, "has everything my people needed. Everything we searched for in the stars. It was here the whole time." Do smiled. "Earth is pretty good. Lots of problems, but the food is nice." He was always like that, taking big ideas and making them small and warm and simple. By the 3rd month, Yuna started helping around the restaurant. Small things at first. Washing dishes in the back where no customers could see her. Cutting vegetables. Cleaning floors. She wanted to contribute something. She was tired of only receiving. Do protested at first. "You don't have to work. You're my guest." But Yuna insisted. "I want to help, please." So he let her. And slowly, she learned more about the restaurant business. She learned how to prepare ingredients, how to measure portions, how to pack delivery boxes quickly and neatly. She was careful to stay hidden. She wore a hat to cover her slightly different ears. She kept her head down when anyone came near. One night, while they were eating, Do-won asked a question that surprised her. "Do you want to go outside? I mean, really outside. Not just hiding in alleys." Yuna felt fear rise in her chest. "Is it safe?" Do-won thought about it. "If we're careful, you look human enough. People will just think you're a foreigner. Seoul has lots of foreigners." The idea scared her, but it also excited her. She had been hiding for so long. She wanted to see this world properly. She wanted to walk through streets and look at shops and feel the sun on her face without fear. "Okay," she said. "Let's try." The next morning, before the restaurant opened, Do-won took her out. They walked through quiet streets as the city woke up. Yuna wore human clothes that Do-won had bought for her. Jeans, a sweater, a simple cap. She kept her eyes down at first, afraid to look at anyone, but no one noticed her. People walked past without a second glance. They were too busy with their phones, their conversations, their own lives. Slowly, Yuna raised her head. She looked around at the buildings, the cars, the trees planted along the sidewalk. She watched an old man doing stretching exercises in a small park. She saw children in uniforms running to school. It was all so normal. So beautifully, wonderfully normal. "This is Earth," she whispered. Do-won grinned. "Not bad, right?" They walked for an hour. Do-won showed her his favorite places. A small coffee shop where the owner always gave him extra sugar. A bookstore with old books stacked to the ceiling. A bridge over a river where he sometimes went to think. On that bridge, Yuna stopped. She looked out at the water sparkling in the morning light. She looked at the city spreading out in all directions. She looked at the sky, blue and clear and full of promise. "I thought I would die here," she said quietly. "When I first landed, I was sure I would die alone, eating paper in the dark." Do-won leaned on the railing next to her. "But you didn't, because of you." He shook his head. "You survived on your own for weeks before I found you. That takes strength. I just gave you some food." Yuna turned to look at him. This humble human who did not understand how important he was, who could not see how much he had changed her life. "On my ship," she said, "we had a council. Very important people. Very wise. They made big decisions about our future. Where to go. What to do." She paused. "When the ship was dying, the council members fought to reach the escape pods first. They pushed women and children aside. They cared only about themselves." Do-won listened without speaking. "You are not like them," Yuna continued. "You have nothing. You work hard every day just to survive. But when you saw a stranger starving in the rain, you gave her food. You gave her shelter. You gave her kindness." She felt tears forming in her eyes. "Why? Why are humans like this?" Do-won was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. "We're not all like this," he said honestly. "Humans can be cruel too. We have wars. We have greed. We hurt each other all the time." He looked out at the water. "But I think most people, deep down, want to help. They just don't always know how. Or they're scared. Or they're too busy." He shrugged. "I'm not special, Yuna. I just did what felt right." Yuna wiped her eyes. "In the Galactic Council," she said, "your planet is listed as primitive. They say humans are too young, too violent, too stupid to join the larger community. They watch you from far away and laugh at your wars and your pollution and your small thinking." Do-won raised an eyebrow. "There's a Galactic Council?" "Yes, many species, many worlds. They have rules about which planets can be contacted. Earth does not qualify." Yuna paused. "But they are wrong about you. I have seen the truth. You are not primitive. You are just different." Do-won smiled, but there was sadness in it. Maybe we are primitive. We do a lot of stupid things. No. Yuna shook her head firmly. Primitive species do not help strangers. Primitive species do not create music and art and stories. Primitive species do not look at the stars and wonder. She put her hand on his arm. My people were considered advanced. We built ships that could cross galaxies. We lived for hundreds of years. But when danger came, our leaders became selfish and cruel. Is that advanced? Dowan did not answer. He did not need to. They both knew the truth. They walked back to the restaurant in comfortable silence. That night, the food tasted even better than usual. And when Dowan went inside to sleep, Yuna stayed awake for a long time, looking at the stars through her window. Somewhere out there, her people had lived and died. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Council continued their meetings, making decisions about who was worthy and who was not. But here, on this small blue planet, a delivery boy with tired eyes and a gentle heart had taught her what true advancement really meant. It had nothing to do with technology or power or age. It was about kindness. Simple, stubborn, unexplainable kindness. And humans, Yuna realized, had more of it than any species in the galaxy. She just had to survive long enough to prove it to everyone. The young man's name was Dowan. Yuna learned this on the second night. He came out the back door of the restaurant at the same time, just after the last customer left. This time, he carried 2 containers. One for him, one for her. He sat down on an old wooden crate, a few steps away from her. Not too close. He seemed to understand that she was afraid. He opened his container and began to eat. Yuna watched him carefully. Then she opened her own container. The food inside was different from last night. There was soup with vegetables and tofu, some rice, and small pieces of fried fish. The smell made her stomach growl loudly. She ate. The food was even better than before. Her body accepted it without any problems. In fact, her body seemed to love it. She could feel strength returning to her muscles. The gray color of her skin was already fading, returning to a healthier shade. I'm Dowan, the young man said, pointing at himself. Yuna understood. The translator chip was working well now. It had spent days listening to Korean, learning patterns, building a vocabulary. Yuna, she said, pointing at herself. Dowan nodded. He did not seem surprised by her strange accent or the way she spoke. He just accepted it. They ate in silence after that. When Dowan finished, he collected both containers and went back inside. Before the door closed, he looked back at her and gave a small wave. Yuna waved back. This became their routine. Every night, Dowan brought food. Every night, they sat in the alley behind the restaurant and ate together. Sometimes he talked about his day. Yuna did not always understand everything, but she listened. His voice was calm and gentle. It made her feel safe. She learned that the restaurant belonged to his grandmother. She was old and could not work anymore, so Dowan ran everything himself. He cooked, cleaned, served customers, and made deliveries on his small motorcycle. He worked from early morning until late at night. He was only 22 years old. Yuna learned other things too. She learned that Dowan lived alone in a tiny room above the restaurant. His parents had died when he was young. His grandmother raised him. Now he took care of her. He never complained about his hard life. He just worked and worked. On the 5th night, Dowan asked his first real question. Where are you from, Yuna? She had been waiting for this. She had practiced the words in her head, trying to find the right way to explain. But now that the moment had come, she did not know what to say. She pointed up at the sky. Far away. Dowan followed her finger. He looked at the stars for a long moment. Then he looked back at her. How far? Yuna thought about the distance. Light years. Millions and millions of kilometers. Numbers that meant nothing to humans. Very far, she said. My home is gone. Dead. I came here because there was nowhere else to go. Do-hwan nodded slowly. He did not laugh. He did not call her crazy. He just accepted her words like he accepted everything else. Are there others like you? He asked. Yuna felt the familiar pain in her chest. The memory of the colony ship breaking apart. The scream she heard through the communication system before everything went silent. No, she whispered. Only me now. Do-hwan was quiet for a long time. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. He held it out to her. It was a key. There's an old storage room behind this building, he said. Nobody uses it anymore. You can stay there. It's dry and safe. Yuna stared at the key. In her world, offering shelter to a stranger was a serious thing. It meant responsibility. It meant trust. Did humans understand this too? Why? She asked. Why help me? Do-hwan shrugged. Because you need help. And because I can. It was such a simple answer. Such a human answer. Yuna's people would have demanded something in return. They would have made contracts and agreements. But Do-hwan just offered kindness because he could. She took the key. That night, Yuna slept on a real floor with a real roof over her head. Do-hwan had left old blankets inside the storage room. They smelled like dust and time, but they were warm. The next evening, Do-hwan brought more than food. He brought books. To help you learn, he explained. Korean is hard, but these are for beginners. Pictures and words. They were children's books. Simple stories with bright illustrations. Yuna held them like they were precious treasures. She spent the next week reading and learning. Every night, Do-hwan would help her with words she did not understand. He was patient. He never got frustrated when she asked the same question twice. He would just explain again, slower, using different words. Her Korean improved quickly. The translator chip helped, but it was Do-hwan's teaching that made the real difference. By the end of the second week, Yuna could hold simple conversations. She told him more about herself, about her planet, circling a dying star, about how the light had faded year after year, how the crops died, how her people built great ships to escape into the darkness of space, about how she was born on the colony ship and had never seen her home world with living eyes. Do-hwan listened to everything. His face showed sadness when she spoke of loss, and curiosity when she described the stars she had passed. Did everyone on your ship die? He asked one night. Yuna nodded. The ship was old. Something broke. I do not know what. There were warnings, then fire, then everything came apart. I found an escape pod. I was the only one who reached it in time. Your family? My mother and father were in a different section. I could not reach them. Yuna's voice remained steady, but her hands shook. I heard my mother calling my name through the communication system. Then the signal cut off. Do-hwan moved closer. He sat next to her, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. I'm sorry, he said. I know what it feels like to lose family. He told her about his parents. A car accident on a rainy night, just like the night he found her. He was 8 years old. He remembered waiting and waiting for them to come home. He remembered his grandmother crying. But we keep going, Do-hwan said, because that's what life is. We keep going. Yuna looked at him. This human, this simple delivery boy who worked too hard and slept too little. He had known pain and loss just like her. But he had not become hard or cold. He had become kind instead. How? She asked. How do you stay so good? Do-hwan thought about it. My grandmother always says the pain can make you bitter or better. I try to choose better. It doesn't always work, but I try. Yuna did not fully understand this, but she wanted to. She wanted to learn how to be like him, how to take all the terrible things that had happened and turn them into something soft instead of something sharp. A week later, Dohan brought her something new. A small phone. "So we can talk," he explained. "And so you can call me if you need help." He had already put his number in it. He showed her how to use it, how to send messages, how to search for information. A whole world opened up in her hands. That night, after Do-Wan went back inside, Yuna sat alone in her storage room. She looked at the phone, the books, the blankets, the empty containers that once held food. All gifts from a stranger who becomes something more. She did not know the human word for it yet. But in her language, there was a word for someone who saved your life without asking for anything in return. The word roughly translated to Soul Keeper. Do-Wan was her Soul Keeper now. And Yuna silently promised herself that one day, somehow, she would find a way to repay him. She just did not know how much that promise would eventually cost them both. The escape pod hit the ground hard. Metal screamed against rock and dirt. Inside, Yuna felt her body slam against the safety straps. Warning lights flashed red. Smoke filled the small space. She could not breathe. She pressed the emergency release button. The door flew open. Cold night air rushed in. Yuna fell out of the pod and landed on wet grass. She lay there for a long moment, staring at a sky full of unfamiliar stars. She was alive. She should not be alive, but she was. Behind her, the escape pod made a terrible sound. Fire began to eat through its metal body. Yuna forced herself to stand. Her legs felt weak. Her whole body hurt. But she had to move. She had to hide. The colony ship was gone. She had watched it break apart in the atmosphere of this strange blue planet. 3,000 of her people had been on that ship. 3,000 souls, including her mother and father. Now they were just fire and ash falling through the sky like shooting stars. Yuna was the only one who made it to an escape. Pod in time, she walked away from the burning wreckage. Her feet moved without direction. She did not know where she was going. She only knew she had to get away before anyone found her. The translator chip in her head was damaged. It picked up signals from this planet, bits and pieces of a language she did not understand. The chip tried to learn, but it was slow and broken. She caught words here and there. Nothing made sense yet. For 2 days, Yuna walked. She avoided the big roads with their fast vehicles. She stayed in the shadows. She slept in places where no one could see her, behind large metal containers that smelled bad, under bridges, in empty buildings with broken windows. On the 3rd day, she realized something terrible. She was dying. Her species needed special nutrients to survive. These nutrients came from plants that grew only on her home world. But her home world was gone. The sun had died. Everything she knew had turned to ice and darkness long before the colony ship even launched. The colony ship had carried enough nutrient supplies for 50 years. But Yuna had nothing. Her escape pod had held only emergency water and a small medical kit. Nothing to eat. Her body began to shut down. Her skin, which was normally a soft pink like humans, turned gray. Her eyes, which could see in the dark, grew dim. She felt cold all the time, even when the sun was bright. On the 5th day, Yuna found something strange. She was hiding behind a building when she saw papers scattered on the ground. Old newspapers, cardboard boxes. Something in her damaged translator chip told her these things were made from plants. From trees. Trees were plants. Plants had cellulose. Cellulose was what her body needed in a very basic way. She picked up a piece of cardboard. She smelled it. It smelled like nothing. She put it in her mouth and chewed. It tasted like nothing too. But when she swallowed, her body responded. Not much. Not enough, but something. Yuna learned to survive on paper. Every night, she searched through garbage for newspapers, cardboard, paper bags, anything made from wood pulp. She chewed and swallowed until her stomach hurt. It kept her alive, but barely. Her body was slowly failing. Paper gave her only a tiny amount of what she needed. It was like trying to fill a bucket with drops of water. Weeks passed. Yuna grew weaker. She found a city. The translator chip finally began to work better. She learned the city was called Sol. She learned the planet was called Earth. She learned the creatures here were called humans. They looked almost exactly like her people. 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, 1 mouth. The same basic shape. But they were louder, more chaotic. They moved fast and talked fast and seemed to be in a hurry all the time. Yuna watched them from her hiding places. She watched them eat food that smelled incredible. Hot, steaming food that made her empty stomach cry out. But she could not steal. She could not beg. She did not know if human food was safe for her body. So she kept eating paper. One night, it rained. The rain on this planet was cold and heavy. Yuna found shelter behind a small restaurant in a narrow alley. She pressed herself against the wall, trying to stay dry. In her hands, she held a piece of wet cardboard. She tried to eat it, but it fell apart in her fingers, turning to mush. She was so tired, so hungry, so alone. The back door of the restaurant opened. Light spilled out into the dark alley. Yuna pressed herself deeper into the shadows, holding her breath. A young man stepped out. He was carrying a bag of garbage. He had messy black hair and wore a dirty apron over his clothes. He looked tired too, Yuna noticed. Tired in a way she understood. The young man walked toward the garbage containers. He was about to throw the bag inside when he stopped. He had seen her. Yuna's heart raced. She thought about running, but her legs would not move. She was too weak, too tired. The young man stared at her. His eyes moved to the wet cardboard in her hands. He saw her gray skin, her dim eyes, her shaking body. He did not scream. He did not run away. He did not pull out a communication device to call for help. He just looked at her with soft, sad eyes. Then he put down the garbage bag. He turned and went back inside the restaurant. The door closed behind him. Yuna let out a breath. He was going to tell someone. He was going to bring people to capture her. She had to run. She had to hide somewhere else. But before she could move, the door opened again. The young man came back out. This time, he was carrying something else. A container. Steam rose from it, carrying the most wonderful smell Yuna had ever experienced in her life. He walked toward her slowly, like he was approaching a scared animal. When he was close enough, he knelt down. He placed the container on the ground between them. Then he pushed it toward her. Yuna looked at the container. Inside was white rice, some vegetables, and meat in a red sauce. It looked like the food she had seen humans eating. It smelled like heaven. She looked up at the young man. He pointed at the food, then at her. The meaning was clear. This is for you. Eat. Yuna wanted to cry. She wanted to tell him that she did not know if this food was safe. She wanted to explain that she was not human, that she was from a dead world far away, that eating this might kill her. But she was so hungry. And he was being so kind. She picked up the container with shaking hands. She took a small bite of rice. The taste exploded in her mouth. It was warm. It was soft. It was wonderful. And her body responded. Not like it did with paper. This was different. This was real food. This was life flowing back into her dying body. Tears fell from Yuna's eyes. She ate more, then more, unable to stop herself. The young man watched her. He did not speak. He just waited until she finished everything. When the container was empty, Yuna finally looked at him. Her translator chip searched for the right words. "Thank you," she whispered. The young man smiled. It was a tired smile, but it was real. Then he stood up, collected the empty container, and went back inside. He did not ask questions. He did not demand answers. He simply fed a stranger who was starving in the rain. That night, Yuna slept better than she had since landing on Earth, and for the first time since losing everything, she felt something small growing in her chest. Hope.